So, what's this? Just a filter, right? This? O2 sensor, right? This is the thing that it'll say, you'll start it up and say calibrate O2 sensor. You pull this off, set it somewhere, and hit calibrate, and it'll calibrate it to room air. Okay. What's below this oxygen sensor? This piece right here.
It's like a filter.
Can you guys see it? It's a little dome with a little ceramic disc. Who knows what that might be? Okay, is it the inspiratory valve or the expiratory valve? Inspiratory, right? Here's the expiratory valve. This thing right here, you won't ever see it on the newer machines, but this is what delivers your tidal volume in a spontaneously breathing patient. Okay? What about this? What's this? Pressure gauge, right? So, I don't know if you guys remember way back to last semester, but of course we know that we never give a positive pressure ventilation when we're masking somebody over 20 centimeters, right? Do you remember when we talked about reversing neuromuscular blockade last semester and waking people up? One of the ways to check for that was a negative inspiratory pressure test. Okay, so what I'm saying is pull off your bag there. Okay, you put your thumb or something to cover that up, right? And then you're going to see this needle go down below zero to about 10 centimeters. Okay, so that's what I was referring to last semester.
And that's for the nip, like if you're
Uh,
the same
just
thing
for
to check their
strength. Yep.
So you say you take the bag off, and that will go to what?
It'll go from 0 down into the negative, like maybe negative 10 would be good inspiratory effort. Yeah. All right. So here's your soda line. Now, getting in there is going to be different for every machine. This one's got some lever somewhere. Find it.
There's a little black lever in the back.
Yeah, that's it right here. So one of these is frozen shut. It might be this one. Yeah, it's this one. But anyway, that lever should come down. It'll loosen this up. You'll slide those out, throw them in the trash, and put your new canisters in. Lock it back down.
Do you change them both at the same time, or just
One at a time, usually. Mm-hmm. So usually the bad one is on top. So the top one goes, the new one goes on the bottom, and the older one goes back on top.
All the books say to change them both.
You're not usually going to see them both go out at the same time, so it's probably a little wasteful. The way we've all been taught is one at a time. All right, so what's this hose right here? Anybody know? Everybody see where it's going? Yeah, common gas outlet, that's right. So if you remember that diagram that I was showing you guys earlier, this common gas outlet comes right in here, and so as the recycled gases are coming back up, you're mixing with the new fresh gas and then coming out to the patient through the inspiratory limb, right? Here's your PEEP valve. PEEP on, PEEP off. Fancy, right? You can dial it in right here, plus or minus. You guys know what this one is here?
Good old APL.
That's your APL valve, right? Your bag arm. And on your machine checks, you'll probably notice that, yeah, in some machines you have one switch versus two. This is what he's talking about in that machine check off. So for this particular machine, here's one switch. So if you could see it, this says bag, and that says auto. Auto is vent. Okay, so that's the first switch, and here's the second switch up there. Okay? Why on God's earth they decided to do that, I have no idea. Any newer machine, this is not going to be here. There'll be one switch somewhere up on the computer panel. Okay?
We just kept wondering what they were talking about, one switch versus two.
Yeah, it's very confusing, especially if you have no idea. But yeah, so that's what they're talking about. These are your two switches. So, also on that checklist, did you see the part, I think it said optional, something about negative pressure test. So, to do that, you pull this thing out here. That'll actually come out of there. And this is where you're supposed to put that suction bulb, okay? So you squeeze it, stick it in there. It'll start to come back a little bit, squeeze it, you know, until hypothetically you've drained all of the gas out of the internal circuitry of the machine. And then they say you come over here and you turn on your first vaporizer, and that bulb syringe will come back out. You give it one more squeeze, throw it back in there, and it should hold. Okay? You close your first vaporizer, you come over here and you do the same to the second, and you would expect that bulb syringe to kind of come back out, right? Give it another squeeze, stick it on in there, and it should hold its pressure.
Why do you do that?
To make sure that there's no leaks in the internal circuitry of the machine. So here's all the stuff we can see. If I were to, and in the past we've done this before, taken the top off of this machine essentially, there's little big pipes running everywhere, okay? So at any of those connections in there, you could hypothetically have a leak. Now, that being said, all of your newer machines, they're going to test that by itself, so you'll never even have to do that. Okay. Oxygen flush. Coming back over here. What do you think this is coming out of here?
CO2
What do you think it is? No. It's hooked into the side of the monitor, or the side of the machine here.
Expired.
Yeah. Gas analyzer.
Where's it hooked into?
On the front part.
Yeah, on the.
No, like, if you follow it up here. Yeah.
And what this is actually going to do is it's going to measure pressure. Okay, so this is where you're going to get your pressure reading from, like your peak pressures and things like that. Now, your end-tidal gas monitor, that gets plugged into here. Okay, I don't want you guys to get confused.
Where does it go into the machine?
So this is just for pressure monitoring. So your peak pressures. This is where your end-tidal CO2 monitor goes at the Y piece. And we don't have a monitor attached, but it would go from here up into the side port of the monitor.
What pressure monitor? Where would you see room for that?
The what?
That pressure monitor that you're talking about back there?
On your machine. Yep. Yep. So you got your tidal volume monitor, your peak pressure monitor here, and then your O2 sensor. So what's the difference between the FiO2 reading from here and the FiO2 reading from there?
Giving you what you like.
Yes.
So where's this located at? Okay. Where's this located at? At the Y piece, so, you know, either way, whatever. But this technically would be more reliable. This is an indication of what you're delivering, right? This is a little bit better indication, though, of what the patient's actually receiving. They should match, hypothetically. But I believe this here. So you can see, we'll turn this around a little bit. So this hose here is going from your APL valve down into your circuit there by the common gas manifold, right? This here is part of the scavenger system, along with this here, okay? This part here is the ventilated, or the ventilation, and here's the scavenger part. So your vent really, or what am I trying to say? This is the scavenging from the APL valve. This is the scavenging from the ventilator, okay? So these two corrugated tubes here is where all of your waste gas is going. And right here is your, is this an open system or a closed system?
Open.
What's a real easy way to tell the difference? Okay, what's the other way? What does a closed system have to have?
Suction.
Yeah, what else? A bag, right? Collection bag. So this is a open system. Here's where your suction is tied into that.
Like in the video, I remember them telling you to like walk around the side of the machine and look on the. So you're just seeing that the mercury or the little ball lies midline. Is that correct?
Yep. You want that in there to verify that your suction's working.
Okay. Right.
And here's how you adjust the amount of suction right there.
Okay.
Right. Now, keep in mind, every machine is going to look different to you,
Yeah.
but it's having that understanding. If you have that understanding, you can go over here and dissect and say, okay, well, I know this is the scavenging system, right? You know that. So I got two tubes coming out of there. Okay, that makes sense that this is the scavenging, taking the scavenger gas away from the ventilator, and this is taking the scavenging gas away from the APL, right? So depending on whether this is open or closed, determines whether you're sending your fresh gas to the ventilator or off through the common gas manifold there, or common gas outlet, I mean. Okay? Well, I got this bad boy turned around. We'll just keep coming around this way. These are all color-coded hanger yolks, air, nitrous, and then the oxygen, for some reason on this machine, is off to the side. Not a big deal. But like I said, come over here and take a look later on. You'll notice that the pins for each gas are in different positions. Okay? That's that PIS system that we talked about earlier. Prevents you from putting the oxygen cylinder on the nitrous hookup. Here are your here's a diameter index safety system. Okay, what I was trying to explain, I don't think I did very well earlier, is if I unscrewed each of these hoses, they all have different sized receptacles. So I'm not going to be able to screw the yellow hose into the connection for the blue port. Okay, so this is what supplies all of our gas to the machine. These all go into the wall. Again, it's only going to let me plug the nitrous into the correct nitrous outlet in the wall. Most of these have like a nice little button to release. So you put it in the wall, and on the wall plate there's usually a button. You push it in and pull out. Okay? A lot of people can't figure out how to get that thing out of the wall. Push the button in and then pull this back. And of course your AC power supply machine. Let's see if this one has any receptacles. It doesn't look like this particular machine has any convenience receptacles, but usually where they're located, it's usually on this back corner of the machine, one of the back corners. They have some. Oh, yep, they're down there. So, lucky guess, I picked the right side. Yeah, so usually down here. And that's where your monitor's plugged into. If you have a Biz monitor, you can plug that in there. But again,